everyone wants to win, but it's bigger than that. You know, like my goals were not only winning, but breaking barriers. Because people who don't know me, you know, for the most part, are like excited that they get to beat up a girl. And then it doesn't go so well. Hi, I'm Callie Gilchrist. I'm a sophomore at Center for Global Studies and Brian McMahon High School. So I was always an active kid. I always loved running around and stuff. So my mom put me in wrestling because it's my uncles did it. She did it in high school. My uncle coaches now. And so it's just been like a family thing for us. So she put me in it and I just always loved it. Once I got to like middle school, that's something that I really started thinking about. You know, I knew that I was gonna be wrestling for my uncle. I knew, you know, my mom's always been there with me. She's always been the one who's taken me to tournaments, takes me to practice, all that type of stuff. So when I got to middle school, I really started thinking about like, this is like, I feel like this is the sport that I'm supposed to do, you know, like just for me and for my family too, so.
This would be my 24th year as head coach. I was coaching a number of years before that. I graduated actually from McMahon, 1987. I wrestled for 4 years. Well, her mother, my sister, there's 12 and a half years between us, but she wrestled in high school. So she was here at McMahon. She introduced Callie to it when she was young. So now at this time, we had youth wrestling, which is we don't have anymore, unfortunately, but the Mad Bulls program was a program here in Norwalk that she got into when she was, I don't remember, I mean, she'll know, between 6 and 8 years old. So she was young.
It was so much fun, and honestly, it didn't really even feel like overcoming. It just felt like having fun. And then, you know, I started wrestling and I lost plenty of matches, especially when I was young.
She started to really enjoy the competition part of it, and that, I don't know if that was the reason, but she definitely has a inner drive that not a lot of wrestlers, not a lot of people have. And it's something that she enjoys and wants to do well. And that has kind of been her part of her mindset since she was young. So now she's actually really, really tough. Now I could say for a girl, because she's wrestling not with other girls, but for the team, which means it's mostly other boys. But regardless of boy, girl, she's just tough. And it showed almost immediately.
What we want to do is turn this way. We want to clamp right here and clamp down.
So now she comes into high school having had, I don't know, 6, 7 years of experience coming in. So she was a varsity wrestler right away. She's an extremely hard worker at all times.
When I walk in the room, I'm working hard. When I step on the mat, I'm working hard. And that's, at least for the past few years, always just been a given. Like, you work hard on the mat. There's no, like, you laugh every once in a while too. It's not like it's, you know, horrible. You don't want to not have fun, but it's always working hard.
And everyone sees that. You can't help but see that.
I've always had a very close relationship with my coaches. And I again, like, I always knew he was gonna be my coach. So it almost felt kind of natural walking into the room for the first time, but I've been overcoming obstacles since the beginning, since walking in like the wrestling room, like so shy, so scared, and being one of 2 girls, to being like loud and happy and excited to walk into the wrestling room. It's just been such a drastic change, and it doesn't even feel like overcoming sometimes. but it certainly is. So.
First few years that I was a head coach, there were no girls on the team, and then I had a girl who wanted to wrestle. And back then, there weren't as many female wrestlers out there. In those early years, I had a girl who was pretty tough, and she was light. And so there wasn't that big strength difference. I will say I had a couple boys who came out for the first time, young freshmen, and she was a junior, and they ended up quitting. I might say in part because they were getting beat up by a girl. There was that stigma back then. You know, you're wrestling a girl, and how do you wrestle? Do you take it easy? Do you wrestle like normal? It was new. It was different back then, so boys didn't know how to act or react to it. Now, it's not the case. No one really thinks about it. Callie's one of the better wrestlers on the team. She beats everybody up.
There were a lot of guys who were better than me, and I wasn't the most incredible wrestler when I was little. I would get beat up all the time, but I never really let it break me, and I think that's when I really started overcoming those bigger obstacles, having to live with losing and having to keep working hard and setting goals. And you know, some of my goals included boys wrestling.
She placed in the FCX, so that was our first girl who placed in the FCX. I
am the first girl to be a finalist in an official weight class at the FCX, and that was really exciting. And it's those kinds of goals that push me just as much as my national titles against girls.
She placed in the States as a freshman. It's the first time that's happened. She was the first girl in the state to place in the double Ls. So of the different divisions for states, she was the first female to place in the double Ls. So as she's winning all her matches, I said, it's not mattering that there's a strength difference. She's just better than them.
And it just kind of started to hit me I am capable of doing well and really well against boys. It's not like girls are my only competition. I can grow and get better in every environment. And then I developed these bigger goals of winning boys states and being the first girl to do A, B, and C. I can be the person setting these standards. I can be the person breaking these barriers. And that's when my goals surrounding that started to really develop.
My name is Art Shad. I've been involved with the sport of wrestling for over 40 years. I used to run the Norwalk youth program known as the Mad Bulls, where we developed a lot of youth wrestlers. Early on in youth wrestling, Callie, Gilchrist, and Rylee Donohue started as second graders, maybe one or two girls. By the time they aged out in 8th grade, we probably had close to 18 girls. These girls are filling varsity lineups in co-ed wrestling in Norwalk High School and Brian McMahon. I was a stubborn New York wrestler. The girls being in the room was foreign to me. I try to be as accepting as possible, but realizing how hard they work and how focused they are, sometimes I prefer to coach the girls. They are uber focused. They want to achieve, and they have something extra to prove in this sport, which is dominated by men and boys. And it's nice to see that they're embracing that role and achieving well. We have several All-Americans. Callie Gilchrist winning a national championship this year was impressive. We knew it was coming, didn't know it would be this soon, and Rylee's right behind her.
I'm Rylee Donohue. I'm a sophomore at Norwalk High School, and I've been wrestling for, I think, about 10 years now. I've been lucky enough to achieve being a 2-time All-American, 7th at Nationals, 6th at World Team Trials, 3rd at New England's, and a state champion last year. It's nice having Callie since I've grown up with her in the room. And it's nice to see her accomplish everything, as well as doing it side by side for the most part. And it does definitely challenge me to try and be the best I could be, so then we can keep continuing to do it together.
it's nice to see, although they're crosstown rivals, it's nice to see that these girls are actually inspiring other girls to fill up the rooms. And I think Joe Santalucia on the other side of town would be happy to support that as well. It's nice to see every year more girls join the sport.
Marin has also been wrestling for a number of years.
This is my cousin Marin. She's a junior. We both go to the Center for Global Studies and wrestle at Brad McMahon High School.
She's more like my sister than my cousin, but just having wrestling and, like she said, having something that we shared like that together, I think it really brought us closer. Like, we'd always, ever since we were born, we'd always been raised pretty much together. So I remember being little and always asking this one here to hang out with me, and she never could because she always had wrestling practice ever since we were little. So in 7th grade, I think, right before COVID, she convinced me to actually try wrestling. So I went during the summer. I went to the just their summer club practices and stuff, and then I got really into it. So I ended up joining Mad Bulls, which is where Callie wrestled before high school.
But it was so much fun because she just took to it so fast. So it was fun being like, that was the first time I got to teach someone how to do something, because I was always the one who was like, wait,
Being
what's
taught.
that? Yeah.
You were the learner.
I was the
student became the teacher.
I was always the confused one, and for the first time, I wasn't the confused one in that situation.
Oh yeah, she just liked me there to take the fall for her, so I could ask the questions and
Right,
get yelled at.
Exactly. When I wasn't paying attention during instruction, I'd be like, wait, ask what we're doing. But also, I think something that's really important is representation. So,
Yeah, talk about representation. I'm sorry, no boy wrestler from our school is on these walls. Callie actually has 2 right up there. So she's really grown it for us over here.
And I think women's wrestling is just, again, such a supporting sport where we try to help each other grow, which is why I was so happy that Marin joined, which is why I'm always so excited that we get new girls on the team, because I want more girls to do it. That's the whole point of growing the sport. At Double L's, there was this dad and this little girl, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Tell her what you said." And she was so shy and she hid behind his leg. And he goes, "She told me that she wants to wrestle after seeing you wrestle." And it was the most surreal experience. It was so, I never, no one told me that before. And it was so crazy because it was I was in the shoes of people who I've been looking up to. And that is what I look to do. I want to be that person. I want to be the person taking the first steps that other people will follow in. And I love coaching kids. I love watching kids wrestle, and I want them to look up to me. I want them to look up to me the way I look up to others.
I don't even need a leg, but I do get it. If I don't have a leg, it's still okay. On to the back.
She's a beast, or an animal, or a machine. She just doesn't stop. In my mind, she's going to have a lot of choices when it comes college time. As women's wrestling is growing at the college level, there will be more places, more opportunities more places for her to go, so that she can go to school for something that she's interested in and be able to wrestle at a high-quality program.
I do want to wrestle at the next level. That's always been my goal. My top school right now, I'd say, is Princeton, at the top of my list. They're developing their program. It looks pretty fast, but I have plenty of schools that are interesting to me, and I value my academics a lot. So that's something that I also really look for in a school, and I want them to have, I want to go into STEM and all that type of stuff. So I need a school that has that type of major and a good academic program and a good wrestling program. So it certainly narrows down the list.
Callie and Rylee are on first name basis with Olympic gold medal winners. They're texting each other, they're inspiring each other. So from youth to high school to the highest international competition, these girls are a very tight community, more tight than the men for sure. And Callie remembers that first Olympian that reached out to her, spent 10 minutes talking to her to inspire her. That inspired Callie so much, she wants to pass that along. The torch will be passed someday, sooner than you think, and it's nice to see that it's seamless from youth all the way to the Olympic level. When you can call an Olympian on the phone and they pick up, that's something very special.
After I won the state open this year, I volunteered the next day at youth states, and a couple people, like a couple kids, came up to me and were like, "Are you Callie Gilchrist?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Why?" And they were like, "Did you win?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I took a couple pictures with a couple kids, and some of them were boys. Actually, most of them were boys who knew who I was, and I think that it's important that boys have like female role models. I remember I was reading Ronda Rousey's biography, and I remember when she was like the role model for boys, and how that was just such a step, and how that was so incredible, because the only thing I'd really considered was being a role model for girls. But I think it's so important that boys look up to female athletes, female whatever. I just want to be a role model, so yeah.